Feeling run down? Lacking pep? Joints creaking like a rusty hinge? Do you wish you could just glow with vitality? Maybe FL? Positively atomic? Well, folks, gather round, because back in the roaring 20s and 30s, the scientifically proven, doctor-endorsed, society-approved miracle cure for everything wasn't penicillin. It wasn't vitamins. You know what? It was radium. Yes, radium. That magical glow-in-the-dark element discovered just years earlier by the brilliant, soon-to-be doubly Nobel Prize-winning Marie Curie. They put it in water. They put it in chocolate. They put it in toothpaste, face cream, blankets, butter, even suppositories and athletic supporters. Yes, really. People drank it, bathed in it, slathered it on, slept under it, absolutely convinced it was the key to eternal youth, boundless energy, and frankly, just being better than everyone else. Spoiler alert, it achieved none of those things, except maybe making you glow right before you died. This is the absolutely bonkers, tragically stupid, and lethally luminous story of the Radium Craze. Our story begins where all good atomic age stories do, in a drafty, leaky shed in Paris around the turn of the 20th century. Marie and Pierre Curie, fueled by passion, genius, and probably not much else, were wrestling with tons, literally tons, of pitchblende ore. They were hunting for the source of mysterious rays emanating from uranium. After years of backbreaking work, they isolated not one, but two new elements. One, they named polonium, after Marie's beloved homeland. The other, well, this one was special. It was millions of times more radioactive than uranium, and it possessed a property that seemed ripped straight from a fairy tale. It glowed in the dark with a beautiful, eerie blue light. Marie described carrying vials of it in her pockets, enjoying its lovely phosphorescence. They called it radium, from the Latin word radius, meaning ray. The world went absolutely gaga. Radium wasn't just an element, it was a phenomenon. This glowing substance emitted energy, seemingly out of nowhere, constant, tireless, seemingly magical energy, and the early 20th century brain, buzzing with newfound scientific optimism but lacking any real understanding of radiation, made a simple, fatally flawed leap. Energy equals life. Radium equals energy. Therefore, radium equals life. Bottled sunshine, the elixir of the gods. Now, Pierre Curie did notice pretty quickly that this stuff could be nasty. He deliberately burned his own arm carrying a vial just to study its effects on skin, noting it caused serious lesions. Early researchers working closely with radium reported fatigue, burns, and anemia. But somehow, amidst the blinding excitement, these warning signs were largely ignored or rationalized away. Instead, a seductive pseudoscientific idea took hold: hormesis. This is the sometimes valid, but massively misapplied here, concept that a tiny dose of something harmful might actually be beneficial, stimulating the body's defenses. Think of it like a vaccine, but for everything. So, maybe a little bit of that powerful radium energy could kickstart your cells, boost your vitality, cure what ails you. They called it mild radium therapy or subcurative radiation. It sounded so scientific. And the quacks and entrepreneurs, they heard cha-ching. If hormesis was the theory, capitalism provided the application. Suddenly, radium was the ultimate health and beauty ingredient. If it glowed with life force, surely it would make you glow too. The market exploded with radioactive quackery, each product more ludicrous than the last. Radium water crocks. We mentioned these beauties. Ceramic jars lined with carnotite ore. Let your tap water sit overnight, and boom, radium-infused health water. Ads screamed, sunshine in every drop, curing everything from arthritis to old age itself. The Radioactive, my personal favorite piece of insanity. This was a small, gold-plated device containing radium sulfate, meant to be worn. Well, gentlemen, you strapped it into your athletic supporter overnight. Or ladies, you could just place it strategically. It promised to stimulate your endocrine glands, restoring lost vitality and manly vigor. It came in a fancy case and cost a cool $150 back then. That's thousands today. Radium suppositories. Yes, they went there. for internal rejuvenation, apparently. Let's just move on. Radium-laced foodstuffs. Chocolate bars for energy. Bread for vitality. Even radium brand butter, because why not irradiate your breakfast? The Radia Cosmetics, still a classic. Face creams, powders, soaps, toothpaste, all promising a youthful, literally radiant glow thanks to thorium and radium. The ads were stunning, featuring luminous women. The irony? Radium actually destroys tissue. And towering above them all, the undisputed king of lethal liquids, RadiThor. This wasn't just water exposed to radium ore. Oh no, this was high-grade radium-226 and radium-228 isotopes dissolved in distilled water, sold in tiny, expensive bottles by the Bailey Radium Laboratories. The man behind it? William J. A. Bailey, a Harvard dropout posing as a doctor. RadiThor was marketed as a cure for the living dead and perpetual sunshine. It promised to cure over 150 ailments, from impotence to gout. Just drink one tiny bottle a day. What could possibly go wrong? While the wealthy elite were sipping their expensive radioactive cocktails, hoping to live forever, another group, mostly young working-class women, were getting a much more intimate, constant, and deadly dose: the Radium Girls. World War I created a huge demand for luminous watches and instrument panels. Soldiers in the trenches needed to see the time in the dark. The magic ingredient? A newly invented glow-in-the-dark paint called Undark, its key component being radium. Factories sprung up, most famously the United States Radium Corporation, USRC, in Orange, New Jersey, but also others in Illinois and Connecticut. They hired hundreds of young women, often teenagers, for the delicate task of painting tiny numbers onto watch faces with fine-tipped brushes. The pay was fantastic for the time, sometimes triple what they could earn elsewhere. It felt glamorous. They worked with this magical, glowing substance. The girls, unaware of the danger, would joke around, painting their nails, teeth, and even eyelids with the glowing paint before going out dancing at night, earning nicknames like the Ghost Girls. But to get that incredibly fine point needed for the tiny numbers, the foreman taught them a technique that would seal their fate: lip pointing. Lick the camel hair brush to a point, dip it in the radium paint mixture, paint a number or two. Lick, dip, paint. Lick, dip, paint. Hundreds, thousands of times, every single day. They were literally, repeatedly, ingesting poison. The company executives knew radium was dangerous. Internal documents showed they took precautions for their chemists, using lead screens and protective gear. But the girls on the factory floor? They were told it was harmless, maybe even beneficial. "It'll put roses in your cheeks," some foreman joked. Then, the horror began. It started subtly. Fatigue, toothaches that wouldn't quit. Dentists would pull a tooth, but the socket wouldn't heal. It just got worse. Then more teeth would loosen and fall out. Then, their jawbones started to ache, swell, and literally crumble. Doctors, baffled at first, called it radium jaw, a gruesome necrosis, bone tissue dying and rotting away while the victim was still alive. Abscesses formed, pus oozed, the pain was unbearable. Many developed severe anemia as the radiation destroyed their bone marrow. Their bones became brittle, fracturing spontaneously, and then came the cancers, particularly osteosarcomas, aggressive bone tumors that grew with terrifying speed. One of the first to die was Molly Maggia. Her suffering was horrific. Her entire lower jaw had to be removed piece by piece. Her dentist initially, tragically, misdiagnosed it as syphilis. A convenient lie the company latched onto to discredit the women and imply moral failing. But the pattern became undeniable. Girl after girl fell ill with the same terrifying symptoms. They weren't stupid. They worked together. They talked. They knew. They knew it was the paint. 5 women from the New Jersey factory: Grace Fryer, Edna Hussman, Catherine Schaub, and sisters Quinta McDonald and Albina Larice, decided they wouldn't go quietly. Led by the determined Grace, who struggled for 2 years just to find a lawyer brave enough to sue the powerful USRC, they filed a lawsuit in 1927. The company fought dirty. They denied everything. They hired corrupt doctors to examine the women and declare them healthy. They used legal maneuvering to delay the trial, knowing the women were dying and running out of time and money. The press sensationalized the story, calling them the Radium Girls. Their bodies, racked with cancer, were literally so radioactive they could expose photographic film, even after death. Their plight captured national attention, a horrifying spectacle of corporate greed versus dying young women. Finally, in 1928, on their deathbeds, the women won a settlement. It wasn't much, but it was a victory. More importantly, their case, and similar cases in Illinois, involving the Radium Dial Company, where workers even pointed Geiger counters at themselves, forced changes. It led to crucial legal precedents regarding workers' compensation for occupational diseases and spurred the creation of what would eventually become OSHA Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They were martyrs, their suffering paving the way for safer workplaces for generations to come. While the Radium Girls were fighting their desperate legal battle, one of RadiThor's most prominent consumers was embarking on his own gruesome, unavoidable decline. Eben Byers. Byers wasn't a poor factory worker. He was the epitome of the American dream, a wealthy Pittsburgh industrialist, a former U.S. amateur golf champion, a handsome socialite, a sportsman. Around 1927, after falling from a train berth and injuring his arm, a doctor who, it turned out, was paid by Bailey, suggested he try RadiThor for the pain. Byers was instantly hooked. He felt amazing, energized, rejuvenated. He became RadiThor's biggest, most vocal advocate. He drank at least 1 bottle a day, often 2 or 3. He bought it by the case, sending it to friends, business partners, even his mistresses. He allegedly gave it to his racehorses too. Over about 3 years, he consumed an estimated 1,400 bottles of high-potency liquid radiation. Then, the perpetual sunshine turned dark. It started insidiously. He lost weight. He had constant headaches. Then, his teeth started falling out. Sound familiar? By 1930, the radium was doing what radium does, embedding itself in his bones, replacing calcium, and relentlessly bombarding his tissues with alpha particles from the inside out. His bones began to disintegrate. His doctors were horrified. X-rays showed his skeleton riddled with damage. Holes literally formed in his skull. His entire upper jaw, except for 2 front teeth, rotted and had to be surgically removed. Then, his entire lower jaw followed suit. He suffered agonizing pain. His death in March 1932 was slow and torturous. He couldn't eat. He could barely speak. He was essentially dissolving from the inside out. When doctors later exhumed his body for study, his remains were still dangerously radioactive. His bones glowed on photographic plates. The Wall Street Journal ran a headline that perfectly captured the dark absurdity. The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off. Eben Byers wasn't some anonymous factory girl the company could easily dismiss or slander. He was rich, famous, connected. His horrifying, highly public death was undeniable proof of RadiThor's lethality. It was the final gruesome nail in the coffin for the radium quackery craze. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, spurred by Byers' death, finally went after William Bailey and RadiThor, documenting the fraud and the danger. Bailey, incredibly, insisted his product was safe until the end, even suggesting Byers' death was due to other causes. He was never criminally charged for the deaths his product caused. He died of bladder cancer himself in 1949, likely a result of his own radium exposure. Byers' case gave crucial new powers to the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, allowing them to regulate dangerous substances and false medical claims more effectively. The medical community, now fully and horrifyingly aware of the dangers, universally condemned ingested radium. The public, shocked by the Byers story and the Radium Girls' plight, finally understood that glowing didn't mean healthy. The luminous promise of radium had faded, leaving behind contaminated factory sites that required Superfan cleanups decades later, and a legacy of pain, death, and a crucial, hard-won lesson about the dangers of unchecked scientific hype. So, what's the takeaway from this glowing, gruesome chapter of history? Besides the obvious, Don't consume radioactive isotopes for fun. The Radium Craze serves as a chilling reminder of how easily the allure of a miracle cure, combined with scientific ignorance, both public and sometimes expert, and opportunistic greed, can lead to widespread disaster. People wanted to believe in the magic glow, and there were plenty willing to sell it to them. It underscores the vital importance of skepticism, rigorous testing, and regulation when dealing with powerful new technologies. Just because science discovers something amazing doesn't mean we instantly know how to use it safely or wisely. And it reminds us that the dazzling glow of progress can sometimes hide a deadly radiation. So, next time you see an ad for some unbelievable new wellness trend promising boundless energy, maybe think twice. Read the fine print, and definitely check if it glows in the dark. Thanks for watching.